leads us to communication, which was what we were messing up a lot on. We were talking but not really saying what we meant, especially in a way that resonated with each other and our personalities. We were together, but we kept missing each other, especially intimately. So what is the number one thing that helped us with our communication, would you say?
Definitely going to Danny Johnson.
I really appreciated Danny Johnson's Gems because it talked about personality. And you probably have already done a personality trait. Just Danny Johnson's Gems really helped us easily see, oh, this is Andrew. Okay, that's why he does what he does, or that's why he thinks the way he thinks, or this is how I can respond to him in a way that he would receive instead of taking offense to it, right? And this is why the way I am now. I understand why we're clashing, right?
Well, you know, they say opposites attract, right? And it's true. Our opposite personalities definitely attract. And under stress, though, they repel. And that's when they hurt each other, right? Unintentionally. And I had done other personality profiles before, you know, DISC, and I knew I was this little dot on some quadrant, but it never really, I didn't really know what to make of it. I was like, so what? So here I am, and depending on how I answer the questions, I'm, you know, here, 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 here. But I definitely found that when we used Danny Johnson's Gems, again, it was like an aha moment. It was like oh, this is where I am, but this is also where Kimberly or any other person might be, depending on how they answer a particular question or two. And then on top of that, it tells me now, how do I have to respond, not to manipulate, but to build trust. Right? And so, for example, in my case, one of Kimberly's pet peeves is I tend to repeat things. And that's just because in my personality, I have to verbally say them, and sometimes multiple times as I think through and process. And I'm a problem solver and I love solving problems, but that means repeating through the issue and trying to figure in my mind if I've got it, right? With Kimberly, her personality is, it's said and done, it's done. Like, don't talk to me about it anymore. So sometimes I'll be at the kitchen counter and she'll be like, you already told me that. And I'll be like, yeah, I know, but I just need to know for sure if this is right? And it's a stressor, right? One of the things as well for me is I tend to be a little bit more spontaneous, add some excitement, that kind of thing. It doesn't all have to be pre-planned, whereas in Kimberly's case, some of that adds stress. So
I like things planned out.
Yes, so it can be stressful for me if everything has to be pre-planned and there's no room for some spontaneity. No personality is better than another. They're all unique and they're all very valuable. I think that's why Danny called them gems, right? Because they're all valuable. And as you learn to be more, I think, responsive to other people's gems, you're able to one, build trust, but also have harmony.
Right. And it really helps you know that you don't have to take offense to what they've said. That's just how their gem reacts or responds.
And I think it's important to know also that when we went through Danny's gems, or at least the first time I saw Danny's gems, was around the lowest point in our relationship. And so one of the biggest takeaways for me when I was doing gems was, oh wow, it's not that Kimberly doesn't love me, it's that she doesn't like me. And now I understand why. It's because we were, at that point in time, we had the stress of a 2-year-old, a new one on the way. Financially, we were in a lot of deep water. We had just sold our dream house, or we're moving from it to something else, and we had to sell our car. And anyway, there's just so much on our plates, and so many different struggles on different levels, and then that affected intimacy, and it affected everything else. So then every time that we had an issue, when we had our stress, we'd go into our own little personality cocoon, right? Because that's where we're safe. And then that's when they started clashing. Learning that was a great way of, okay, now I understand that Kimberly hasn't been talking mean to me or dishonoring me because it was her intention. She's just been defaulting back to a particular personality response that she has in her safe spot, and it's it's offending me. So for example, whereas Kimberly will ask a lot of, well, why questions, for me, the why is like, what are you doing wrong?
Like an attack.
Yeah, it's an attack. So again, just understanding your partner's personality will help you go, oh, okay. So when she's asking this, it's not because she's attacking me. She really just needs to know from a safety perspective what the risk is. Or the other way around, hey, even though I want to know, when I ask why, that person may take it as, what did you do wrong, or why did you make that choice? Versus the way we word it might have to be a little bit different. Like, hey, that's a great choice. Can you tell me what you were thinking about it? Or, hey, like, why did you think about that? It's an interesting perspective.
This is all really, really good stuff. If we have something that we want to talk through with our spouse, we have something that we want to bring up, how do you suggest that we do it well? Is there a good time to bring it up? How's the best way to approach it?
I think you need to schedule a time.
Uninterrupted?
For sure. I mean, if you're on your device or you're, watching a movie, or
kids are running around,
or the kids are running or screaming, or you really need to take a time out. And just say, you know what, there's something important I need to talk to you about. Do you have a few minutes that we can just meet? And you know what, it's usually better to do it right away.
Rather than letting it stew.
Yeah, unless like I said, the schedule is it's just not working. And typically what I find is that's when you won't be able to do it. The enemy has a way of trying to make you have strife. And so it's better to get it done and out of the way as quickly as possible. Just don't give them a foothold to enter into your relationship that way.
To ask, when is the best time that we can have this conversation? I can see right now that you're making dinner, or the kids need us, but when's a good time for us to come back and have this discussion?
And probably not good just before you have to go somewhere. Because that typically happens. You're getting ready for church or an outing, or I gotta go somewhere because I'm on a deadline, and then you're just angry and upset the whole drive. It's important to be aware of your timing, but also don't wait, because the easiest thing is not to do anything. I'll talk about it tomorrow, and then we'll let it go, and it just becomes another casing around the bomb.
Yeah.
That's at some point going to trigger something.
Right.
Some of our best, I think, times of discussing things were being able to get away as well.
Yes. Prioritizing weekends away.
Yeah, it's funny, but after our first, I think it was probably after Jonathan. It was after we had all three. Getting away for a weekend and trying to do that 4 times a year was very helpful. I think the first day we didn't know what to do. Like we had been.
Me, I was going stir crazy.
we had lived together for what would that be now? If Jonathan was born, that would have been almost 11 years, right? And or 10 years, and we were all alone together for a day in this beautiful little bed and breakfast, and so what do you want to talk about? I don't know.
What do you want to do?
And it was, but by day 2, that's when it was that ice was broken. It was just that rock was destroyed, and it was great. And that's when we started talking about dreams and taking our conversation to a level that was much higher, and a lot more valuable and beneficial. And hey, so what do you want to do when you grow up? Where do you want to be? How are things working?
Right. Okay. So how do we diffuse an argument? Meaning we feel it escalating, or we're like talking in circles, or we're starting to attack instead of being solution oriented. What's a good way, the best thing to say to calm each other down so that we can come to an agreement?
Stopping and maybe getting a few minutes apart is important.
Okay.
And the other thing too is recognizing where you might have taken something the wrong way. Think of it as a sentence where we put accents on syllables. I may say something to you, and something may tweak something for you, and you hold on to that statement.
Right. Replay it.
Yeah,
in your mind.
And that statement becomes a point for you. I may have said the statement and forgotten all about it, and I actually didn't know that it even hurt you.
Right.
But you've latched on to that one. Same for me, right? Something you may have said hits me into my personality or in something that's troubling me, and I use that, and she must mean this.
Right.
And so the best thing to say is, when you said such and such, it made me feel like this. And it's in that way made me feel this way about you, and I'm sorry. Will you forgive me for thinking ill of you or saying this about you or
holding this against you.
And more than likely the response of your spouse will be, I didn't know I offended you that way. I never meant it that way at all. Like or maybe, yeah, actually I did, but I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. And the whole point is that when you come first with, and in a sincere way, just say, listen, I'm sorry. Will you forgive me because I've taken this wrong, or this and such has happened. It makes it easier for the other party to then come in agreement and ask for forgiveness too.
You could say, I could be totally wrong about this, but I sense that you are feeling disrespected by my words or my tone of voice, and it's not my intention. I didn't mean to make you feel disrespected, right? Will you forgive me?
That communication, well, 93% of it has nothing to do with your words.
Yes,
right?
Tone of voice.
Yeah, tone of voice, your
looks on the face.
rolls on the eyes, the face. I mean, now with our tablets and our pads and everything being communicated by text, it's very difficult to tell sarcasm and tone of voice and intention. It's so important to be able to have all your forms of communication, because if not, it's very easy to get taken the wrong way. And, it's very easy to be hurt. The worst thing to do is say, I felt this way, will you forgive me? Oh yes, but I had a right to be upset because you just totally just destroyed your argument, right? It's important to look for forgiveness and to not dig back up or look for any validating your hurt in a sense, right? You were hurt, okay. Hopefully we're going to deal with it and it's forgiven, and it's, in a sense, we're going to move past that. We're asked to be selfless and to love without any expectation of anything in return.
This is good. This reminds me of one of the 5 must-haves in your marriage that's included in the free printable to this episode. I'm not going to give it away. You have to get the printable to find out what it is. But go to Speak Life Badges podcast episode 3 and 4 to print off this free printable 5 must-haves for your marriage. Remember, another thing too is to give each other time to process. Many times you would say something to me and I was on the defense and didn't want to hear it and stomped off, right? And then I would think about it and I would mull it over and I'd say, yes, Andrew's right. I just didn't want to hear it, right? Then I'd have to come back to you and ask you to forgive me for not responding in the right way, right? Having the right attitude and stomping off. Keep trying. Don't give up on trying to understand each other, right? Seeing it from their perspective, considering their viewpoint, right? Fighting for each other, not against. One thing that really encourages me is our children are watching, right? And I want them to have an even better marriage and relationship with their husband or their wife than what we have, but they're not going to have that if they don't see us modeling and working towards the best relationship that we can have, right?
I remember when we were going through the valley in terms of our relationship, and it was tough, and it was tough with intimate times, it was tough with work, it was tough with everything, and I remember one of the big things was, if you want to save this, you're going to have to, we talked about expectations earlier, but you're going to have to love without any expectation of anything in return. And it doesn't matter if you don't get anything back. That is the way that you have to love. And it's not that it was easy. It's not. But that was when I made that choice. That would be what I do. This is if I was to turn the Titanic, if I was to rescue what was left of our marriage. It required me to obey and to love without any expectation of love in return or anything in return. This was you know what? This is how God loves us, and that's what I have to do. And you know what? God honored that, and Kimberly came around and loved me.
No, I always loved you, Andrew. There was, like you said, the part where I didn't like you.
I love you, but I don't like you.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, well, thanks for joining us for this episode. We hope that you had so much fun listening in as we had talking together. We bless you and your marriage. Together, you and your spouse can have great communication. Remember that if there is one thing worth fighting for, it's your marriage. No marriage is perfect, as no two people are perfect. You can still have a strong, thriving marriage. Do not believe lies that your marriage will fail. Fight for each other and for a strong, thriving marriage instead of fighting against each other. Don't forget to get your free downloadable. It's called My Marriage. Go to speaklifebadges.com, podcast episode 3 and 4, and get that printable. We want you to see those 5 must-haves for your marriage. Now, I know that they're not actual stickers for you to wear, but they are, the first time ever, Speak Life badges for your marriage. You'll get 5 must-have badge phrases or declarations that your marriage needs. When you get these 5 must-have badge phrases for your marriage, would you share in the comments below the podcast episode on speaklifebadges.com which badge phrase resonates with you the most? If it was an actual sticker, which one would you wear? We want to hear from you because we can learn from you and your marriage. Be sure to tune in to episode 5 because we are going to renew our parenting approach by calling our children up instead of out. Hit the like button and subscribe. If you like this episode, would you leave a review? It would be my first review. And share this episode with another mama. That's what I care about most. If there's one thing the enemy is after, it's our marriages, and we've got to keep our marriages strong and renewed. So share the love and help so that we stay renewed in our marriages. Lots of love. I'll see you next time. Bye.